except for Councilman Binder and Councilman Hypes, who will not be with us this evening. And as always, we begin our meetings with a Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able, please join and stand us. Please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And just a little housekeeping. For those of you that may not have been aware, the first item on the public hearing tonight, the North Point Mall zoning decision, was deferred by the applicant. That will not be heard tonight. They've asked it to be placed on the November 7th, 2022 City Council meeting and public hearing agenda. Just didn't want anybody to stay here all night if that's what you were waiting for. So the first item up on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the council meeting minutes from the meeting of August 22nd, 2022, and the special called city council meeting minutes for the meeting of September 1st, 2022. Also has alcoholic beverage license applications, quite a few this evening. We have PH-22-AB-23, Buffalo Key West Connection, LLC, DBA Creation Social House, 11500 Webbridge Way, A7, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30005. Second is PH-22-AB-24, Arnold Mill Ventures, LLC, 12335 Arnold Mill Road, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30097. Third is PH-22-AB-25, Ramen Spot, Georgia, LLC, DBA Ramen Spot, 7300 North Point Parkway, Suite 102, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30022. Fourth is PH-22-AB-26, Lazy Dog, Colorado OPS, LLC, DBA Lazy Dog Restaurant and Bar, 10800 Haynesbridge Road, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30022. Fifth item on the consent agenda is PH-22-AB-27, Sid's Pizza and Grill, LLC, 11770 Haynesbridge Road, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30009. The sixth is PH-22-AB-28, Phillips Brothers Hospitality Group, Inc., DBA Mercantile Social, 20 North Main Street, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30009. In addition to the alcohol license applications, we also have the fiscal year 2023 Law Enforcement Training Program Grant. Now, item E is approval of the permanent easement and maintenance agreement between Berberian Properties, LLC, and City of Alpharetta, Georgia, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents. F is approval of the conflict waiver between the City of Milton and the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, for the purposes of preparing an intergovernmental agreement with respect to the housing of inmates at the Alpharetta Jail. Item G is right of entry, indemnification, and maintenance agreement between Pappas Restaurants Incorporated in the City of Alpharetta. And the final consent agenda item is H, which is the Lost Intergovernmental Agreement cost sharing. Is there anyone who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Mitchell, second by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Next up will be the presentations and proclamations, and this week is Constitution Week. So we do have a proclamation. It was sponsored by the Daughters of the American Revolution for Constitution Week 2022. Thanks, sir. With representatives from the Daughters of the American Revolution, like to come forward. of you like to say a few words?
We're members of the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Patriots of Liberty chapter that is located here in Alpharetta. We actually have our meetings right across the hall in the meeting room. The Daughters of the American Revolution support the Constitution of the United States, as well as do a lot of work for our veterans, whether it be placing wreaths on grave sites or supporting those who are living. In particular interest, we have recognized in World War II, as well as Vietnam and Korea, as well as the other wars, but we're really paying attention to those that we're losing quickly. So it's a great chapter. If anybody would be interested in joining, we'd love to talk to you about it, but we're excited that this is Constitution Week because that's what the Daughters of the American Revolution are all about, daughters of relatives who fought in that war for our Constitution. So I appreciate your time to say a couple words.
Anything else, ladies?
We're happy to be here. Yes, very happy to be here. Thank you. Very important.
We're happy to have you here.
Yes.
This is certainly the greatest living document on the face of the earth, as far as I'm concerned. And as an elected official, all of us have sworn and taken oath to defend this document and take the oath very seriously. I know we all do. So, a proclamation by the mayor and the council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, Constitution Week. Whereas the Constitution of the United States, the guardian of our liberties, is a product of reflection and choice, embodying the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule by law. And whereas September 17th, 2022 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas the United States Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, do hereby proclaim the week beginning September 17th, 2022, as Constitution Week in the City of Alpharetta, and urge all citizens to reaffirm the ideals the drafters of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. So proclaimed this 19th day of September 2022.
Thank you.
Sit down, Mike.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's good to see you.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. You too. You too.
And since the first item on the agenda for the public hearing was deferred, first item we'll take up will be PH-22-10, Unified Development Code Text Amendment, Banner Signs, public hearing and first reading. Director Cook, you'll have the floor. It's a little fuzzy.
Yes, it is. I think, there we go. There we go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is a proposed text amendment to the sign ordinance, And the reason that we're bringing this forward is that we've had all the construction on Main Street, which you've seen for the last few months, but it's had a pretty big impact on some of the businesses. And the way it's impacted businesses is because the monument signs had to be removed, or it just looks like because of equipment that's parked in front of the buildings that the businesses are closed. So we looked at our ordinance and we came up with a proposal that we took to the Planning Commission, which adds to our current banner regulations in order to allow for those banners to remain past the 2 7-day periods or the 1 14-day period that it currently permits. So we're looking at adding language to section 2.6.11, and it would be to the banner section in order to allow the director to extend and grant an extension for banners, specifically adding language that says the director may grant an extension of the time period set forth above for a commercial business when the business fronts a roadway that is under construction. And in order to qualify for such an extension, 1, the subject roadway construction must be related to a project performed by the city, county, or the Georgia Department of Transportation. And 2, the subject roadway construction is planned to continue for 6 months or more following the date of the request for an extension. And 3, the subject roadway construction either causes the removal of a monument sign or, as determined in the discretion of the director, disrupts the store frontage to the extent the site and or business appears closed without the use of a banner. And then we also add that the director has the right to require removal if those are not kept, if maintained in good condition. And this not only would work for projects that are like Main Street with the construction that's going on for the next couple of years, but it would also work for projects, future projects could be North Point Parkway where there's major construction which requires the removal of monument signs. This was taken to the Planning Commission meeting. There was no public comments at that time. They did recommend approval, unanimous approval, subject to changing some of the language. I had in there that this would be permitted for retail and restaurant businesses. They did ask that that be changed to be allowed commercial businesses in general. And we also added county. I didn't have this was allowed for county projects. So that's the only changes. But if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those before the resolution.
Any questions for Director Cook? Councilman Dorito.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Cook, in the requested updated provision for the ordinance, or in the existing current language of the ordinance, is there anything in here, because I can't see it, that defines the type of sign that would be allowed? Meaning, if it's for a commercial retail business, I get that, but should we be more specific as to it has to be related to that business or that commercial entity?
The banner that's allowed, and I didn't read all of that, but the existing language does say that it has to be, can't exceed 24 square feet, and we're not allowed to dictate what it says on the banner. There can be issues with that, of course, when we dictate what the verbiage is, and I don't know if our
Ms. Eswine, do you want to address that?
Add to that.
Right. So under basically constitutional law, we have to be careful to be content neutral when we're regulating signs, and these would constitute signs. And I could, this is only the first reading, so we can look into if the council's interested in maybe pushing a little bit and seeing if that would be something we could justify. Should it be challenged to see if there are any other, criteria for what the sign would entail, but generally it's kind of a better safe than sorry to keep it content neutral.
I guess the reason I asked the question is I'm not trying to limit anybody's freedom of speech, of course. I'm a big supporter of that, just like many Americans are, but I could see a situation that a sign being placed on someone's property during a construction period, whatever, may not be at all relevant to that commercial business or establishment. And who knows what would be on that sign or what would be contained in it. And that's why I asked the question. Yeah. But your explanation makes fine sense to me.
And we can certainly, but between now and the second reading, talk with staff and see if we can come up with anything that the council might find a little bit more comforting on that.
Thank you.
Point.
Thank you, Kathy.
Councilman Mitchell.
Since it's the first reading, you have 6 months down here for construction. Would you be open to perhaps a 3-month period? Because any time that they're blocking the business and they lose visibility, a 3-month period is a long time for a business. I would just like for you to at least look into that. 6
Absolutely.
months seems, like a decent time, but I think some of these businesses will struggle after 3 months if they don't have a banner in front of them that says we are open through construction or whatever, so.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with that because it is construction that has to be related to GDOT or the city or county. So that wouldn't be, developer or private construction. So we can change that to the 3 months. I don't see an issue with that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Director Cook at this point? Ms. Eswine, do you mind reading?
An ordinance to amend Article 2 of the Unified Development Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to amend regulations pertaining to banner signs, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Shapiro?
We have no public comments.
Why, thank you. However, if there's anyone here that would like to come forward and speak on this item, now is your chance to do so. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'll offer a motion tonight to approve the first reading of PH-22-10, Unified Development Code Text Amendment Banner Signs.
Second?
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel, a second by Councilman Dorito, and that was to approve PH-22-10, Unified Development Code Text Amendment Banner Signs, as read by City Attorney Molly Eswine. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. That'll wrap up the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. And the next portion of tonight's meeting will be the new business. First item being citywide security systems, badge access systems. Now, I had Randy Bundy, but this doesn't look like Randy Bundy coming forward, so.
I am not Randy Bundy. So, we're good with this, right, Adam? You weren't planning on doing this, were you? I was told I was doing this, so I'm just doing what I'm
You
doing.
are doing it now,
I am
Director
doing it now,
Robinson.
so if you have any technical questions, then Adam's the guy. So, well, good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to see you. Yes, so we are, public safety has kind of had this land into our area of responsibility now regarding a recommendation for citywide security systems badge access system update. The 2023 capital budget included funding for $220,000 to refresh the current badge reader system, which includes the cost to remove and replace existing obsolete access control hardware. It will upgrade the existing system and also add some additional control points to some buildings that are currently not being serviced, and add improved security to information technology infrastructure. And again, we're going to be somewhat in control of that moving forward regarding public safety. It's our responsibility.
Do we have any questions for Director Robinson? Thank you, sir. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
No, sir, we do not.
However, if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this item, now is your chance to come forward and speak on the citywide security systems badge access. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to award a contract for the replacement expansion of the city's badge reader system to NetPlanner Systems, Inc. under the terms of the Georgia State Contract 99999 SPD 0000172-12 in amount totaling $254,808.36. Authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents included in this request as a reallocation of $47,549 from the non-allocated reserve account within the Capital Project Fund.
Have a motion by Councilman Wills, second by Councilman Mitchell, and that was to award the contract for replacement expansion of the city's badge reader system to NetPlanner Systems, Inc. under terms of Georgia State Contract 99999 SPD 0000172-12 in an amount totaling $254,800 $8.36, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents. Included in this request is a reallocation of $47,549 from the non-allocated reserve account within the capital project fund. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Next item up under new business, Director Rogers, I believe you have this item, and that's the acceptance of the 2022 Fulton County Arts and Culture Grant Award.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here seeking approval to accept a grant from the Fulton County Arts Council in the amount of $15,000 for our very successful music match program. This grant requires a 50% match, which can include cash or in-kind services. We have budgeted in our operating account $10,500 for this program, and we use staff program hours for the additional $4,500 needed. Our music match program began in 2019 and has been very successful. Local businesses that want to have live music on site can fill out an online application. They tell us how much they have to spend, what kind of genre they want, and then we do the rest. The maximum amount that they can contribute, and the minimum amount they can contribute, is $100, and the maximum is $300. If approved, we match their contribution dollar for dollar. Now, as a side note, during COVID, we did not match dollar for dollar with our music match program. We had, Fulton County had given us a grant in 2020. When COVID hit, we contacted them and said, we have this money, but nobody has any matching money. And we worked it out with Fulton County that we could take a $25 application fee, and then we would pay for the musician during COVID only. So, but now we're back to the dollar for dollar amount. I just didn't want anybody to get confused that we did it a little different. This program brings local musicians together with local businesses and adds to the flavor we like to call Alpharetta Music City. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to point out for the public record that Councilman Will had to abstain from this because he participates in that program from time to time with his restaurant. So I just wanted to explain why Councilman Will left us for this discussion. Any questions from council on this item? Thank you, Mr. Rogers. I think it's been a great program. I appreciate you bringing this forward. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, sir.
However, if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this item, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I offer a motion to approve the acceptance of the 2022 Fulton County Arts and Cultural Grant with a matching contribution from the city of Alpharetta, not to exceed $15,000, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel and a second by Councilman Mitchell, and that was to approve the acceptance of the 2022 Fulton County Arts and Culture Grant with a matching contribution from the city of Alpharetta not to exceed $15,000 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say there was a time when we didn't pursue and we didn't get grants from the county. So I appreciate all that you and your staff are doing to procure this kind of programming in our city, and it is a success. So thank you very much, Morgan, and please let the others know. It's a great thing.
Seeing no other comments, all those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously also. So that will wrap up the new business portion of tonight's meeting, and the next portion is public comment. So if there's anyone here that would like to come forward, take their moments to speak their public comment. Now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Any reports? Mayor Pro Tem Merkel.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Councilman Hypes couldn't be here tonight, and he was present with, as most people up here, Friday when we did the groundbreaking ribbon cutting for the new equestrian arena at Wills Park. It was an amazing event. There was a lot of people out there that had put a lot of time and effort into this, raising money. overseeing the project. It was just a really well-done event, and I know he was very proud of it and had a chance to speak to his point of how proud he was on Friday, but I wanted to pass that along to everybody out here as well. So it was a great event. Thank you.
Any other reports?
Mr. Mayor, before you move on, I may have one later, but I'd like to see if we could hold the reports open until after the executive session to see if there's actually a report that I need to make.
Well, that's intriguing, so I will grant you your wish.
Thank you.
We will not close reports. However, we will move on, and I have to
A
call
little
for,
teaser to keep the people here all night.
there you go. I have to call for a motion vote to recess into executive session.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Dorito, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel. And that was to vote in recess of executive session. All those in favor of recessing into executive session, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. Councilman Mitchell. And it does pass unanimously. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back in a few minutes. Mr. Lagerloom, do we expect to be taking any votes in executive session?
I do not believe we do, no.
Okay, so you're welcome to stay here, but there's probably not going to be any exciting news when we return from executive session.
And Mr. Mayor, to the extent that I do give a report after the executive session, I'm happy to talk with anybody about that individually after the meeting as well. So there's no need for anybody to stick around. They certainly can, but that offer's out there.
Thanks, sir. So we will now recess into executive session. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We have a
So,
motion to reconvene.
Motion to
by-
reconvene, Mayor.
Have a motion by Councilman Will,
Second.
second by Councilman Dorito. All those in favor of reconvening into reports, please raise your right hand, or you can vote. And it does pass unanimously. We are reconvened. Reports. Mr. Lagerblum.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for holding that open. As you are aware, let me ask a question too of James real quickly. After I give this report and this video is able to be made available to the public and particularly to the reporter that was here, because I don't want him to think that we, purposely held a report that he wouldn't be here to see. When could I point him to be able to watch this on the internet?
Typically, it takes about 30 minutes for everything to upload.
Okay, so we'll have it, so I can talk to him and have him tonight be able to hear this report so that he has everything that's said at the meeting.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, Mayor and Council, so thank you for that. The reason I held the report is because in executive session, one of the things we're able to talk about is matters of personnel, and I wanted to see on the fringes where we got with matters of personnel, what I could talk about there versus what I needed to talk about in this particular setting. That's the report that I want to give you tonight, is that we have received, and you all have are in receipt of, a copy of Judge Rich's report with respect to our municipal court and former Judge Barry Zimmerman. You were provided the unredacted copy of that report. I asked you not to share that because if it were to be shared publicly, there would be redactions that are required. We're prepared with a document that has those statutory redactions, and we'll make them available if anybody were to ask. Obviously, you get a report like that, and one of the things we have to do is decide what we do from here. And, we've all read it. My presumption, and this is what I'm bringing to you tonight in the form of a report, is that you're going to want to talk about it at some point. If you all want to do that, and I think I'll ask for that as one point, takeaway point. We would schedule that on the agenda for a future meeting for that discussion. Also would be interested in your feedback. I know that when this was initially discussed, and this is before my time, but in what I've watched, is that there was some question as to whether or not this report, when complete, would be made available to any other investigatory body based upon what it determined. And I think I'd like to be able to report to you when we talk about it publicly what type of response I might get. If I do, just put a cover letter on it and let it be read by those that have looked at it once before already and just either decide that there's something that's worth continuing to look into, or to tell us that there's just simply not anything they're willing to take forward. I don't have that answer tonight, and I don't want to forecast what the outcome would be if I were to send that. But generally, I'm looking for two things tonight. One is whether or not you want to talk about it in an open session, and two, whether or not you would like me to put a cover letter on it, transmit it, and allow the GBI to look at it again based upon the outcome of the report that we received from Judge Rich. And that's my report tonight, and looking for those two answers.
I'm not sure we can really give you those two answers tonight in reports.
Okay.
Molly, do you have any thoughts on that?
All I'm really looking for is direction as to whether or not we want to have a discussion about it at a future meeting. No, I'm not looking for a vote.
It's
I will
more
make
like
a decision.
workshop, but we didn't really advertise a workshop on this item. See what I'm
Okay.
saying? I mean, I'll defer to our attorneys, but in my experience, we do a workshop to get input from council to give guidance, and we didn't really advertise
Okay,
taking
so
this topic up.
I will, I'll own the decision then to bring it forward at a future agenda, and I'll work with Molly to bring it forward in the manner that we feel is most appropriate, so that we don't violate anything tonight, but so that we have the ample and appropriate opportunity for you to weigh in.
Everybody fine with that?
Mayor, that's my report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you getting that resolved. So, Ms. Eswine, while we're in reports, I do have a question for you. It's a legal matter that has come up recently in our local option sales tax discussions and negotiations with Fulton County. And in my experience, executive session is only available for certain things. threat of lawsuit, employment, and that's about it. And
Would be real estate,
Real estate,
acquisition or
right.
option to enter into agreements related to real estate, yes.
thank you. So in our last discussions with Fulton County, statements were made by Chairman Pitts that the offer that they made back to the cities was to reject the city's latest proposal for a solution. And in those discussions, it was clear that the Fulton County Commissioners had been discussing these in executive session, which to a layperson, I don't know how that applies as far as terms of a sales tax distribution agreement being applicable to executive session. Because my response was, our attorney won't let us do that. Any thoughts on that matter?
I'd have to give it a little bit more thought and look at maybe some of what's been exchanged since y'all have outside counsel on that, so I hesitate to say definitively. It's possible they're operating under potential or the potential litigation aspect. I'm not 100% on that. There is also...
And that is what their explanation was. However, you're pretty hard on us when it comes to executive session discussions. And the discussion of whether you're going to make a response in terms of a negotiation is not the threat of a lawsuit. I understand that if they were discussing a potential lawsuit, it seems like it would apply to executive session. However, if you're able to sit there and discuss terms, then all of us should be able to go into executive session, and I know you won't let us do that. Would you let us go in there and discuss that because there's potential political lawsuit at some point?
So you know our office is pretty conservative on this. What I would say on that, what is potential to some people, I'm not going to say I'd necessarily agree with what they would say potential is. And it
You potentially wouldn't say what they might say political.
Well,
I
no,
got you.
if you
understand.
understand, I think I'm going to look for more close in time likely to result in litigation for that sort of situation. But I can't say, I'm not as plugged into the loss negotiations as you since we do have outside counsel, and I'm not Fulton County's attorney, so I'm not privy to what they're doing, but I understand your concern for sure.
Okay, thank you. That being said, any other reports? All those in favor of adjourning, raise your right hand. We're adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.